Welcome to the La Dolce Vita Show, a woman's guide to living a fearless and fabulous life. My name is Heather Picken, and I am here to give you that winning formula so that you can get clear on your vision, stay true to your values, and break through those mental walls. Check out my free resources at heatherpicken.com. This podcast is brought to you by Fierce Femme Wine, a woman's wine that inspires dialogue for change. Visit fiercefemme.com. So let's get ready as we uncover the formula to your success in business, career, and fabulous life. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the La Dolce Vita Show, where I am your guide, your fearless guide. And what we do on this show is we break down the fearless female formula on how you can live a fabulous life today, whether it be in your career or in your business. And I'm just really excited. I'm fired up today because we're going to be talking with Jen Proctor on really the formula to tapping into your intuition. And I absolutely love this subject. And before we begin, I want to dive a little bit into her bio. Jen Proctor, her whole mantra is lead with compassion and compassion only. This is just really the fuel for her. And she's the founder and CEO of Cultivated Entertainment. And Cultivated Entertainment is a full-service talent consulting firm that connects entertainment entities and brands with talent across campaigns, media events, and more. And I'm sure she's going to share a little bit about that. But Jen is an integral part of every synergy created and oversees all accounts. So that's really key. And it was really interesting. Just before launching the company, Jen is the head of talent for Embassy Row, Sony Pictures Television's TV and digital production company. There, she oversaw the development and booking of talent for all productions from inception to completion. She also held roles as head of talent for a cable network's daily talk show, was an entertainment field producer for Fox News, and worked on the talent representation side on the booking desk of CAA and ICM. So Jen, thank you so much for being my guest today. Wow, that bio was a mouthful.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for reading that. You did an excellent job. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
My pleasure. And for those of you that might hear something in the background, it's my two chihuahuas. So it's just
mine might be barking at some point as well. So
exactly. And that's I guess the benefit of working from home. I've got a studio downstairs, and this is where all the magic happens. So I like to have fun.
I'm with you. I have my dogs with me all the time. They're the best.
They really are. And before we dive in today, I do want to share with everyone, for those that have been listening to this show, you may or may not know that I recently launched a wine label called Fierce Femme, and it's all about creating a dialogue to inspire change for women all around the world. So I'm just really, really inspired. I got some really great things coming up in the new year. But if you're watching on video, you can check out my first two labels. So this one is the superpower. Knowing yourself is like having a superpower, which is so true. And this one is so timely too for, we just got through the midterms, but 2020 is coming, and #vote fierce. So that is my Chardonnay, and the other one is my Cabernet. And these are my first two releases, and I will have many more. So I'm definitely a woman on a mission. And I know Jen is a woman on a mission. And talk about superpowers. We're going to talk about the superpower of intuition. So I want to find out a little bit more about you in your journey and, how you kind of came together with, actually starting your business.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Southern California, went to college at SC. After college, I moved to New York, and, I thought, I'm moving to the big city and I'm just going to be on top of the world. And that wasn't really the case on the personal side. I mean, professionally, I got a great job and my career was off to a really great start. But I think it was a really eye-opening experience to move to, the biggest city in the world and really not know anyone. I was making no money, and really, really sort of had to figure out who the heck I was. And it was in the moment, it seemed so hard and really difficult. But now looking back, I think it's, I'm so grateful for that experience. But um, I've had a lot of different, jobs in my career, and I think all of which have sort of led to me creating my business. My business is something that there really isn't anyone out there that does all the things that we do. And, I took all of my unique experiences from each of my past jobs and my personal experience and the things that, I live my life by. And that's how I created Cultivated Entertainment.
I love that. I love that. So before we're going to go into the intuition, but so everyone understands what you do, how can you help a woman entrepreneur grow their business with your services?
Sure. So what I do, like when I explain my business, I think of it as a wheel. So you have a wheel. At the center of that wheel is talent. So that's celebrities, musicians, influencers, experts, authors, anyone that is a talent or has something to offer a particular project. And then from that center of the talent, each of the spokes of the wheel are various services that we provide. So, we do a lot of work on television shows. And so when you see talk shows or late night shows and there's celebrity guests on, we do a lot of that. We also work with different brands. So, if they have a new product or a new launch that they're doing, they can come to us and, we help be sort of a think tank for them and come up with ideas like, okay, X, Y, or Z would be a really good person for you to collaborate with on this product. We also, excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. We also work on the event side. So if someone's throwing an event and they want to have like a really amazing group of people come to the event, celebrity or not, but just an eclectic group of people that are really going to go and have a good time and pay attention to what the event is for, we do that as well. And then we also do development or consulting. So that could be for an array of things. It can be for a brand, for a person, really anything. And you come to us and, our expertise is kind of connecting people with projects and talent. And it's like I said, it's very, we've carved our own path here, and it's sort of the sky is the limit. We don't have like, here's our list of services and everything that we do. Every project or person or brand or client that comes to us, we really work with them and figure out what their needs are.
I love that. So it's like one part creative, other part connection, and
very creative and very much
collaboration.
Connecting. Yes. So much collaboration. And that's like such the world that we're in today. I think it's, I guess the standard or the norm of what I do, even just a few years ago would have very much been extremely isolated into the entertainment industry. And, it's still, that's probably 70, 80% of our business, but the other 20 or 30%, is working with people that really have nothing to do with the entertainment industry at all. And that sort of there's this really beautiful intersection and collaboration that's happening with people and all different types of businesses and brands. And, people are lifting each other up and utilizing each other's resources to bring more power to themselves. It's really an exciting time.
It is, and it's also a very exciting time for women that are really, showing up and owning their power. So I'm just such an advocate for empowering women. So I totally believe in the power of connection and collaboration. So
yes.
Let's dive into the subject of intuition, because I just love, I love the subject. Number one, I think it's really important to understand what it is and utilize it in your business. So how did you really, what was the first time that you remembered connecting with your intuition? Like, where were you? Was it a business or personal situation?
Sure. Well, I think intuition is one of those things that, fortunately or unfortunately, due to my upbringing, I was sort of thrust into leaning into my intuition without really knowing it. I had a really tough childhood. I mean, a lot of people do, but my mother was mentally ill, and so I really had to step up and raise my brother and my sister, and I really had to, at 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, I was almost a mom, and I think that was really the beginning of me honing in on my intuition and figuring out what was best for my family and myself in that time, and really being a leader, and not having the resources, or nobody was telling me what to do. I was just trusting my gut. Um, and then I think probably the next round of when I really, really felt like my intuition was leading me is when I started in the job force. As I said earlier, I held many jobs, but there were a couple that I reached a point and I just was done. There's something inside of me that was like, get out, girl. Like, this is no longer serving you. And it's a hard thing because, we all have bills to pay, and we all have a career that we're building. And ultimately, I had a couple of jobs that I just straight up walked out on. And I remember one specific job. It was extremely hard. It was an incredible job. I was in my mid-20s, and it was a job that somebody probably in their late 30s or early 40s would have had. It was a very senior position, but extremely highly stressful. And I just got to a point where I was like, there was no passion, there was no creativity, there was nothing left. And this one day, my intuition, there was a little bit of a, straw that broke the camel's back, but my intuition just said, run, like, get the heck out of here. And I remember in my car driving away that day, I didn't know where the heck I was going to work next. I didn't know where my next dollar was going to come. I mean, I had no idea. I just walked out. And I never felt more inspired and powerful and just connected to me and who I was, and really, really just following that intuition and knowing that I was going to be okay. I was going to be more than okay. And since then, I think that every decision that I've made, both business and personally, it's always from a place of intuition. I think that it's there for a reason. And as much as sometimes we want to tell our intuition to kind of like, shh, no, I'm going to make the logical choice. I think you really have to acknowledge and listen to what your intuition is telling you, because I truly believe it will never serve you wrong.
I love that. What a great story. And you talk about intuition. It sounded like you heard a voice, but you were also kind of like listening to your feelings, like you felt stressed out. And so what was the time frame that you finally connected your intuition to say, okay, we're out of here? How long did you stay at that job?
Yeah, so I was at that job for about 2.5 years. And I would say from the beginning, it was a very hard job. So something right away was telling me like, oh, but again, the logical part of me is like, this is a great career move. This is like an excellent salary. This is going to get you ahead in your, whatever you want to do next. So I stuck with it. And then it just started over that course of a couple of years. It was just grinding at me more and more and more, and I'm such a creative person, and I'm such a bright, bubbly person, and I love people. And I just saw that sort of diminishing. And then, so the intuition would kind of go away. Like I would hush it and say, okay, no, I'm going to stay. And they kind of pop back up. And, when things would get bad, I just remember sitting there thinking, yeah, like, what are you doing? Go, leave. So, that was probably the longest time I had, sort of had an argument, for lack of a better word, with my intuition. And since then, everything that I've done, I mean, there was a job that I was at for like maybe 6 months. And again, it's not that I don't suggest everyone just leave their jobs when they're unhappy, but I do think that like there is a place for you, there is a space for you. And if you follow what is innately inside you, you're going to find it. You just have to let it guide you.
I love that, because part of the journey of being a fearless woman in the world today, it's like you've got to know who you are. And always, that's why I labeled my wine the superpower. And you also can't be afraid, like you can't shut out those voices, like you have to take action on them. And I find a lot of women, they don't give themselves permission to really explore their feelings. I mean, would you agree?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's, a lot of conversations that I have with women, whether or not they're running their own business or their mother, like, it doesn't matter where they are in their life. I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We put a lot of pressure to have all the things that we're supposed to have. But that may not be the case for you. What's good for somebody else isn't necessarily good for you. And so I think the more we can kind of strip away those layers and just support each other for who we are and what we are, then we can all become what we're truly meant to be.
I love that. Let's talk about, following your intuition in business. You had mentioned earlier that you make business decisions around that. For example, there's so many people out there that are coaches, consultants, and then, it's like you kind of get confused, as far as like, if I want to hire someone, number one. Number two, there's a lot of different marketing avenues that you can do as well. So then you see people out there saying, well, you got to do this. No, you got to do that. So how can a woman in her business really connect to her intuitive side to know that she's making the right decision?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. I think that's the thing with intuition, is that it's not just, you're not just going to hear a voice that tells you what to do. It's a feeling, or it's going to tug you in a way or pull you in a way. And I think for me, there's two types of clients that any woman has in any business, or any person rather has in any business. And one is that client that's the high paying client that is just going to be, it's going to be the bringing in the money for the business, and you may not be that passionate about it. And, it's not all warm and fuzzy. It's just the money. And then there's that other side of those things that maybe it's somebody that doesn't have a ton of money to pay you, but it's like you just feel pulled to it. You feel called to it. And so what I've really tried to do is maintain a balance between the two. Obviously, I have a business to run and employees to pay and bills to pay and all those things. But, there's been a couple times when I've taken a few of those jobs on this side that were just money, and they were nightmares, and it was all the wrong things. We came on for the wrong thing. And those have been good lessons. The other projects that you're more passionate about, that those are the ones that are going to lead to more and more business down the road. And I think making those intuitive decisions is very important. Sometimes you are going to have to do work for free. Sometimes you are going to have to, if you own a candle company, like, you're going to need to gift a lot of your candles. You're going to have to spend money to make money. And, like you said about the marketing thing, look, there are so many avenues that people can get out there and get customers and get clients. And so everybody is going to be throwing stuff at you all the time. And so I think the most important thing to do is really look at all the options and just sit with them for a while. Don't make any quick decisions. If you're thinking about X or you're thinking about Y, just kind of sit with it and see, how does it make you feel? And, not to sound trite, but do you feel warm and fuzzy about it? Like, does that feel good? Or does that make you nervous and uncomfortable? And I guarantee if it makes you feel warm and fuzzy, then it's probably the right thing to do and the right way to spend your money.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I like the fact that you mentioned, just kind of taking time to connect with your intuition so that you feel certain and you're not like, I don't know about this. So I think that's really important. It's also interesting that you that you were talking about clients that were paying to work with, because in my business, I remember doing things like that. I was just saying yes to the people only because of the money. And I just think that's so key, is that you can't take on what I call these energy drains. It just takes the life out of you and of your business because you're not listening to your guidance. So, we talked about intuition, and what about sort of on the same lines of intuition, but in your business, when you're working with clients, are you intuitively guided to kind of find like the right connection or messaging? Like, do you find that, you're using all your skill sets and you're connecting with your intuition, like, oh, that's the right thing to do. But then maybe they're like, I don't know about that. Have you ever had that issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what I really, really strive to do is have am really compassion, as you read, I always lead with compassion. And so I think when you're working with clients, instead of just thinking of them as client X or client Y, I really try to have a real connection with them and a real understanding of their life personally and professionally and where they come from and what is their story and what is their brand. And so I think while sure it can be about intuition, I think that that part is really about connection. And we're all human, everybody has a story, and I think the more that you understand about the people that you're working with, the better that you're going to be able to serve them and provide what they're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like the fact, you are putting, yeah, I was reading in our show notes, you like to put people first, like always put people first. How do you find that helps you as an entrepreneur, instead of, which a lot of women freak out about money. So it's like putting people first, not focusing on money. So what is your mindset around that? Like to not focus on the dollar signs?
Because I think for me, it's all about longevity,
Mm.
and I think that, if you create a true, authentic connection and relationship with somebody, regardless of how great or horrible or somewhere in the middle the project goes, they're going to remember you and they're going to want to work with you because you have that person to person connection. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO of a multi-billion dollar corporation or a tiny solopreneur. You want to work with people that you want to work with. You want to pick up the phone and be excited to talk to that person, or get excited when that email comes in, or the last thing that you want to do is like, oh God, so and so's calling. So I think trying, and it's easier for some than others. Not everybody is warm and fuzzy and bubbly, but as much as you can, try to really just get to know the people that you're working with, and they will come calling. They will come back. I promise.
I love it. I love it. Now, let's talk a little bit more about intuition as it applies to advice. Have you ever gotten some bad advice and you followed it and it just went sideways?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think advice is a hard thing. I think when you're talking on the let's say like friends and family, I think that, people always want to give advice that they think is best, but you know, they're only seeing the situation from the outside. And so, I think whenever people give you advice in whatever part of your life it is, look at who's giving you the advice. Number one, if it's somebody that really authentically knows you, then that advice might weigh a little bit heavier than someone that you've known for a few months and had a quick, got to know them very quickly. So and for me, when giving advice, I try to pause and have an understanding about what's actually going on, whatever it might be. I had a girl call me last night, actually. She's a girlfriend, but we've worked together and she's wonderful. She's an entrepreneur. And she was just in this really kind of crappy situation with someone that she was working with. And she's like, I just need your advice. And before I said, listen, I can't tell you anything. I need to hear the whole story. And I sat on the phone with her for probably 45 minutes and she told me the whole story. And once I could hear it and digest it, then I said, okay, this is what I would do. Because I would never want her to just do something and then think I gave her the wrong advice. And advice is tricky, but I think you just have to, one, know who it's coming from, two, know where you are, and three, you got to pause before you make any decisions.
I like that. Matter of fact, I remember when I was having a couple challenges with some crazy clients, instead of just trying to figure it out in that moment, I was doing exactly what you mentioned, pausing, like, how do I want to handle this? And I'm glad I took a day to like sleep on it, because if I would have been like reactionary in the moment, it probably wouldn't have worked out the way that I wanted it to. So I just think that's such great advice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's talk about embracing uncertainty and fear. So I know women that are listening to this right now, whether they're going to the next level of their business, they see themselves as a visionary, or maybe they want to climb the, the ladder in their career. How do you personally deal with, I call it like living in the void, like you put something out there in the universe and it's percolating, but you don't actually have the end result. So how do you personally handle that?
Well, that's a tricky thing. And I will say, as an entrepreneur, that's something that happens all the time. I think you say, okay, great, I'm going to launch this, or I'm going to hire these people, or I'm going to do that. And, you can have a plan, but it doesn't always go your way. And it's over the last couple of years, I've really, really learned that you have to kind of take it a day at a time. I think it's important to have goals. It's important to have plans. But I think, I used to find myself getting really caught up in like oh no, but what's going to happen next week or next month? Or, that I was sort of forgetting to be present and, dealing with what was happening in that moment. And so I think that's really my advice. Look, anything that is worth it is going to be scary. And anything that's worth it is going to be unknown because it's foreign. You've never done it before. But once you're on the other side of it, you're going to look back and be like, holy cow, that was amazing. So I think if you look back at your own life, anything that you've done, any accomplishment that you've achieved, before you did it, it was scary. You were scared and it was unknown. And so I think that's actually, if there is an unknown and you are afraid or nervous or feeling anxious about something, that's all good stuff. That means that good things are happening. It means that, you're charging new territory and you're carving a new path and you're growing and you're changing. And I think that's what life and entrepreneurship is all about.
I love it. Yeah, because, it's so true what they say. It's like life happens outside of your comfort zone. So it's like, if you want to go to the next level, don't think you can do it with the same strategy and thinking that you're operating right now. It's like,
no.
Jump to that next, I always say you have to jump to the next sphere of awareness in your mind, because it's your subconscious mind that's running the show. And if you're not programming it to say, oh yeah, that, we are going to feel fearful. So every woman that's listening right now, expect to feel a little uneasy if you want to take that next leap.
Being uneasy is good. Like, sit with that. Let it be uneasy. Like, that's what life is about,
Yeah. And taking a deep breath. I think that's important too. Just
absolutely.
Like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
I always give I give myself pep talks like, okay, you can do this. Like, you can do this. And I will tell you, that simple shift of just talking to myself, like self-coaching, it just shifts the energy. Or if like I'm at home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this, I will go for a walk, because I really feel that kind of breaks up the energy, and then I can connect and, to that deeper part of myself and, find a solution instead of being what I call my freak out moment. It's so important for, women to emotionally ground ourselves. So speaking of which, one of the last questions I want to ask you is, I personally have a daily mindful routine that grounds me emotionally, where I read my vision statement, I meditate, I connect with, what I want to do for the day before I read any emails. So what do you have? Do you have a personal success ritual that you do?
It's one of those things I've tried to, meditate for 20 minutes in the morning. I've tried to do the journaling and all the stuff. The thing that works best for me is I get up early, I make my coffee, and I have my coffee and I hang with my dogs, and I sort of just have a moment to kind of start the day. And whatever that means, maybe I'm listening to music, maybe I'm reading the news, just to sort of have a moment and start the day however I want. And then I also, most days of the week, I'll go and I'll do a workout, whatever it might be. And I know that sounds really trite, but anytime I do a workout, I do not have my phone on me or on, period. So it's 1 hour to just give back to my mind, to my body, and to my soul, and to really be present in my body and, not worried about what's going to happen later that day or later that week, but to really just be present in it for that 1 hour every day. And so I think, regardless what works for you, do that, and it could look like X, Y, or Z, but whatever it is, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, figure it out, and whatever feels good, lean into it and do it.
I love that. Yeah. So what you're saying is just find your own routine, take at least an hour. I know personally I take 2 hours because I am not one of those people that can just jump out of bed and get ready to
Yeah.
go. I like have my morning coffee. I'm with my dogs. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't even have to be an hour. I think, I know I have friends that, they have kids running around and a husband and a business, so even if it's 5 minutes, whatever you can give to yourself to just have that little moment of whatever it is to just sort of wrap your head around yourself and how you're feeling and tune in and then, it just sort of sets the tone for the day.
I love it. Yeah. So it really goes back to giving yourself permission to
Yes.
take some time for you.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Jen, this has been absolutely fabulous. And
Yes.
women want to find out a little bit more about your business. What is the best way they can do that?
Yeah. So a couple things. So you can go on our Instagram. It's at Cultivated Entertainment. And then I also host a podcast called Cultivated Conversations that you got to come and do it. But it's it's all about women and entrepreneurs and being real and telling our life stories. And so it's kind of this perfect parallel between my business and my personal passions. And you can also go to our website, cultivatedent.com, and you can send us an email, hello@cultivatedent.com.
Awesome, Jen. And we will have everything in the show notes so you can find out more about Jen and connect with her on social media. Well, Jen, thank you again for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I just want to close out with this is that, you have to take time to connect with yourself to make those important decisions, no matter what area of life that it is in. So when you take time and you relax and let go of your fear, you will find the answers and you will connect with that deeper part of yourself. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. So if you like what you hear on this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. Interested in becoming a sponsor or learning more about leadership for women's performance using neuroscience or business coaching, contact support@heatherpicken.com. And don't forget to grab my latest book, The La Dolce Vita Formula, by going to fearlessandfabulousbook.com. That's fearlessandfabulousbook.com.